In tonight's Top Gear, it's small, but is it still beautiful? Renault's restyled Clio. Racing American style in downtown Corby. And the scooter that thinks it's a bike. Styling, high performance, handling. We like these things in Top Gear, it's true. But forget the glamour and listen up. You want transport, a shiny new car, something a bit sassy maybe, but we are talking sensible money here, not telephone numbers. Room for 4 adults, safe, economical, cheap to insure with a solid warranty. You know, the basic stuff. May the god of car enthusiasts have mercy on my soul, but we're talking about something that can get you from A to B. A runaround with space in the boot for the shopping. I can't believe I'm saying these things. But there's a very good reason for this. Now, normally, it's pretty dull, just reeling off the list of standard equipment you get on a car. But with this new Renault Clio, I'm forced into making an exception, so bear with me. Every single model in the range includes the following as standard: ABS with emergency brake assist, power steering, 4 airbags, remote control central locking, remote control for the hi-fi, electric front windows and rain sensing wipers. The range starts at £7,495. The supermarket Super Mini has just gone supernova. So, have Renault gone completely potty? Of course not. The massively hyped Mini has just gone on sale and a new Fiesta and Polo are just around the corner. Which explains the generous equipment splurge. It's all part of a midlife facelift designed to stretch the Clio's sell-by date. I'm not sure about the lifted face, although the refreshed rear end is more pert, and Renault is claiming big quality improvements too. Apparently this isn't just a facelift, it's a major re-engineering job. Well, re-engine in this version at least. This particular Clio contains the brand new 1.2 litre 75 brake horsepower engine, which has the best fuel economy, 65 miles per gallon on average, the lowest emissions and the most competitive cost per mile figure of any car in its class. Okay, so it's the blessed St. Clio of the petrol station forecourt. But what use would that be if it couldn't pull the skin off a rice pudding, or should that be batter the topping on a creme brulee? Luckily, the dessert is history, and despite its modest muscle, the Clio 1.2 is fun. Clean, safe, French fun, what with all those airbags, very animal-friendly emissions levels and a class-leading 4-star Euro NCAP rating. The Clio feels like a big car made small, rather than a small car that's got too big for its boots. Pretty tasty recipe so far, but there must be something on the menu that's a bit less tempting. Well, stretch the 1.2 litre engine and it does start to sound unrefined. The brakes and the throttle response aren't bad, they're just a bit soggy. And this one-man jury is definitely still out on the nose job. I know it echoes Renault's new corporate visage, but it definitely looks a bit overcooked to me. Not so the interior, if anything, it's underdone, which is no bad thing. Clean, simple, functional, and well finished for such a cheap car. It takes the old Clio's cabin to the cleaners. They still haven't quite fixed the driving position though, and it's a bit tight in here if you're tall or wide, or both. Who was it who said size matters? The size of the Clio's market share certainly matters. A top 10 bestseller every year since 1992, Renault has shifted over 500,000 of them in the UK, and this latest version will bump up the tally even further. The base model is extraordinary value, while the Sport Clio 172's hot hatch crown now looks firmly glued on. The choice of engines and trim levels between these two is so vast that there are over 5,100 combinations. But there is one other version you should know about if you prize value for money above all else. This 1.5 DCI turbo diesel version, a car that's aimed squarely at CND supporting vegetarian rail ale drinking weirdy beardy types, but irritatingly, unavoidably economical. I've been driving it for 14 years now, non-stop, and we still haven't run out of diesel. The Clio DCI TD sounds like a copper from the bill on a foreign exchange programme. Two different versions are available, and with the exception of hybrids like Honda's Insight, the 80 bhp model has the lowest emissions and the best fuel economy of any car on sale in Britain. It'll average 67.3 miles per gallon. Oh, this is no good. The way things are going, pretty soon diesel's going to take over the whole world. What we're looking at here is a prime candidate for the best value car on sale in Britain. And you just can't knock that, can you? Especially when the rest of it is so competitive. Right, what I need now is a Clio V8 with about 400 horsepower.
Bikes and scooters are two-wheeled chalk and cheese. Bikes are all about speed, performance and macho looks.
Scooters, on the other hand, are trendy and pretty nippy, and you can have one at 16. They are great for nipping around town, but let's face it, they're hardly butch. But the Gilera DNA tries to solve that problem. It's half cafe racer, half user-friendly urban assault vehicle. Basically, it's a scooter that thinks it's a bike. It's got 14-inch wheels with proper bike rubber, a big brake disc, a race-like fairing and fox eye lights. So far, so good. But with only 50cc to play with, you're half expecting to see a pizza box on the back.
And the price of these big bike looks a very scootily £2,000. To ride, it's pure scooter. Just twist and go. Or rather twist, wait and go slow. Performance from the little two-stroke is adequate around town, and it gives reasonable acceleration so you can make the most of the gaps in the urban crush. A top whack of 30 miles an hour may not seem fast, but it is quicker than a traffic jam. It's just as well the Gilera was limited to 30 miles an hour, because at the end of our filming day, the speedo had broken. On the plus side, it is fantastically frugal, managing 90 miles to the gallon. Now, this isn't actually the fuel tank. It is a cleverly designed helmet box, but the fuel filler cap is rather worryingly positioned here. Easy with the nozzle, sweetie. A full tank, sir. Aye, thank you. It's in its element spearing through city streets. It's easy to manoeuvre thanks to its short wheelbase and a light weight. With this DNA, you do get a little more street cred with the big bike boys than you would on a normal scooter. But once they've checked out the wheels, they could well be chuckling into their visors. If you want the same simplicity but with more power, Gilera make 125 and 180cc versions of the DNA. Another £700 buys you a top speed of 76 miles an hour. Personally, I wouldn't bother with the 180. I'd go straight for a big bike, but the 50cc DNA is perfect for 16-year-old Ducati dreamers who have yet to pass their CBT.
Proper bikers won't be too impressed, and normal scooter purists. But hey, this is a great way for new riders to get the hang of big bike dynamics and handling, and it makes you feel all grown up.
Still to come on Top Gear. Born in the USA, reborn in Northamptonshire, racing American style. And the space race, buying a used 7-seater. But first, the Top Gear Autobiography.
A radio set with which to while away long waits in traffic jams or to relieve the monotony of a long drive. Neat, isn't it?
We're sitting in a 1938 Humber Sniper Imperial that has been fitted with a period radio. It's an American set from the Philco Corporation. The set comprises a very large box of works underneath the dashboard here, connected via cables to a control unit on the steering column. for the driver to operate. They were typically 20 to 30 pounds. The average wage was £3 to £5, and you could buy a car for £100, so they were very much a rich man's toy. Sitting in a 1959 Cadillac Coupe de Ville, real glitzy car, fantastic rock and roll machine, and rock and roll radio with, believe it or not, a record player, in-car record player. This model here is the Phillips model, very popular in this country and in the States. This just took 45 single, slotted into the record player. And there's little Richard. The whole deck is mounted on springs and will actually play very well as you drive along the road. Doesn't do a lot for your records though, because it has very heavy stylish pressure. But fantastic piece of kit for today. My favourite. Absolutely over the top rock and roll. We're in the 60s and 70s now, in a typical 60s sports car, the MGB, and a really nice piece of 60s in-car entertainment, the radio 8-track. Well, the cartridges themselves are very robust and easy to insert in the car without having to take your eye really off the road. It's a nice big slot, and it was just a question of pushing it in, and the thing came on. No buttons to press, fiddling to do. Technically, these are quite different to cassettes. They don't need rewinding because the tape is a continuous loop and will cycle round playing all the tracks. The marketing war saw them off. The cassette was seen as a better format, mainly because it was smaller, and the 8-track disappeared.
Our brief was to develop the ultimate multimedia vehicle. We've managed to put into this one vehicle everything that you could reasonably expect to find in an office. We've got a printer scanner, digital fax machine, floppy disk drive, hard drive, terrestrial television tuner, video, DVD, and our favourite new toy, an MP3 player. What it means is that one can download up to 200 CDs into a hard disk drive with instantaneous selection of music. In a piece of kit no bigger than your ordinary radio, with digital quality sound.
The burger is indeed a fine creation, but because of foot, mouth and mad cow disease, its very existence in this country was under threat. But now the countryside's back in business. The cows are on the mend, and we're expecting a heat wave. So why not treat the kids to a summer in the UK?
An assault of the British countryside and theme parks with a full complement of pint-sized revellers is going to call for something practical, effective and cheap.
No, I was thinking more of a people carrier, actually.
Nowadays, all manufacturers sell their own socially acceptable 7-seater MPVs, and they've been pretty popular. Too popular, in fact. They hold on to their value better than a Van Gogh. But the one which started all is knocking on a bit now, so surely there must be a bit of value there.
The Renault Espace left every other manufacturer standing when it was introduced in 1985. For the first time ever, families could have a minivan with comfy seats. The marketing boys slapped themselves on the back, and the Renault cash register hasn't stopped ringing since.
Right, the Espace started this game, so what's all the fuss about? Well, there's decent elbow room for the passengers, stacks of places to store things, and you can move the seats to make it pretty adaptable to the load you're carrying. And if you want luxury, go for the top-of-the-range Executive.
You don't so much drive the Espace as set sail in it, which is OK if you're not in a hurry. But if you are, and you've got a full complement of passengers overdosing on ice cream and chocolates, things could get pretty interesting.
The Espace swallows around the corners with the grace of a pregnant hippo, so don't try to go too quick.
Well, actually, the 2.1-litre turbo diesel doesn't do quick, but at least it's economical.
This Espace is cracking on a bit now, and so it's essential you look for a tiny example with full service history. A payload of children is going to take its toll on the interior, so make sure all the seating works and there aren't too many scratches and scrapes.
Unless you're munchkin-sized, it's really not that comfortable to be driven around in. And, well, there's nowhere to put your luggage. A flawed concept, that, especially considering its unreasonably high use value.
This 8-year-old diesel with 90,000 on the clock goes for between 5 and 6 grand, which is great if you're selling, but appalling value for money if you're wanting to buy.
But what about something that's newer? Better value for money, does exactly the same job and is more enjoyable to drive. Wait for it, it's a car! But not just any old car. This Peugeot 406 comes from a long line of distinguished estates which are designed to carry 7 people.
Whereas the Espace is thinking about the kids, the 406 thinks about the driver. For starters, it looks normal, and you can sit in the usual way. It hasn't got any strange dimensions to get used to, and best of all, you don't need to leave the seats behind when you need some boot space.
A 7-seater estate is actually much more practical than an MPV, and it all hinges around these fold-away rear seats, an idea that's been around longer than Griff Rhys-Jones been mucking about with Vauxhall. He's so funny. Look at that. Not a boff in sight. There's still not much room for buckets and spades, but an MPV hasn't sorted that out.
Drive it and you'll have a sneaking admiration for those suits who had the gall to repackage the minibus and hand it back to families as the car they've been waiting for. The 406 has a super smooth ride and is fun to drive, which means when it's fully loaded up with urchins, there's one less thing to lose your rag about.
It's got exactly the same engine on board as the Espace, so you've got the economy, and being a bit lighter, the performance is better too. Don't touch the 1.9 diesel, because that's a bit slack. Overall, the spec is better than the MPV. All cars have driver and passenger airbags, and most have ABS.
So far, the 406 is proving irritatingly reliable, and because most have been bought through the fleet system, they've generally been well maintained, which is handy as parts and servicing can be a bit pricey. But if you fancy doing some investigating, check for worn rear suspension bushes, a fully gassed aircon system, and that the cam belt service has been done.
4-year-old P-plate will cost between 5 to 6 grand with about 50,000 miles to its name. Now that's half the age and mileage of the MPV, and because there are so many around, you won't have to go that far back in time in order to find a good one.
But if you're not taken by the Peugeot's Gallic charm, a thorough search through the second-hand ads will turn up a wide range of 7-seater estates from Montegos to Mercedes, depending on your budget and your image.
So there you have it, a cheap, practical way for you and the rabble to drive around Britain this summer. And if I were you, don't stop till you get to the airport.
Coming up on Top Gear, born in the USA, born again in Northampton, all American racing comes to the UK. But first, the Top Gear verdict.
So, you passed your driving test in a Vauxhall Corsa. You kept your nose clean driving around for the first few years in a poverty-spec Vauxhall Corsa. Now it's time to have some fun in a Vauxhall Corsa. Ooh. There's no doubt the new Corsa was a vast improvement on the old one, but this sporty SRI, well, have I missed something? The centre console reminds me a bit of an early 1980s hi-fi system. Oh, I don't know. Bits of silver on the dash and on the gear lever and on the handbrake are all well and good, but none of it is really shouting out, "Drive me!" Now, there are loads of cars out there that prove that you don't have to have a rock-hard ride to be sporty. The Corsa SRI isn't one of them. Why, my wrists are getting a thorough vibro-massaging just driving down this moderately smooth road. Naught to 60 miles per hour in about 8 seconds means that you won't be left floundering in the traffic light Grand Prix. Not that we're endorsing such behaviour, you understand. Mind you, extracting all this perky performance will lead to something of an assault on your eardrums. I like the nuggety little gear change. I'm less keen on the variable assistance power steering, but I'm always a big fan of mid-range grunt, and this car has got plenty of that. Just remember to wear your ear defenders.
Action. Action. Action.
What
Action.
I would have said is, at a fiver under £13,000, the Corsa SRI 1.8 appears expensive, although it does come with ABS, traction control, air conditioning, CD player and twin airbags. The Fiesta Z-Tech S can't match the SRI's performance, but it handles far better and it's £2,000 cheaper. The Peugeot 206 GTI is pricier, but a more polished performer. And for the same money as the Corsa, you could have the hardcore Seat Ibiza Cupra 20 VT. So the Vauxhall Corsa SRI, well spec'd, but not well special. 6 out of 10.
Banked track oval racing is something we instantly associate with American motorsport. Especially its spectacular fender-bending NASCAR series. But, like so many things, it actually began in Britain. Brooklands, near Weybridge in Surrey, was the world's first purpose-built racetrack, opened in 1907 with a huge 3-mile banked circuit. It was a mecca for the pioneers of motoring, with a motto of the right crowd and no crowding. But the Second World War brought an end to the racing, leaving John Cobb holding the lap record at an average of just over 143 miles an hour. Brooklands remains open as a vibrant museum, but after the war, bank track racing was left to the Americans.
Well, it was until now, because this is Rockingham. And I don't mean Rockingham, North Carolina, I mean Rockingham Motor Speedway, Northamptonshire.
Where over the last 2 years, more than 1 million tonnes of earth have been moved to carve a 1.5-mile banked circuit out of the old steelworks site at Corby. It's been a huge task, made worse by the winter's rains.
And it's still not quite finished yet. But the bank holiday crowd is beginning to arrive for the opening ceremonies. And who better to lead them than 1993 IndyCar champion, Nigel Mansell.
Who was soon lapping at an average of 160 miles an hour in a Reynard Ford Champ car before performing the obligatory rubber-burning donuts. Nice one, Nige.
But while the American single-seaters aren't here until September, a British version of America's fabled stock car series, NASCAR, gets underway right here, right now, with ASCAR.
Unfortunately, it wouldn't be with a full-blooded race, because the weather delays had left the NASCAR lookalikes with precious little testing time to sort out their brand-new machines.
We decided not to race because we have a few problems with the engines. The Americans that came to train us were absolutely convinced our drivers weren't ready to race, but I think a little differently. I think they are they're pretty good to go. But we decided it would be safer and better for the fans if we actually put on a show today that was exciting and entertaining.
A show that would try to match the close formation spectacle of another of Rockingham's opening day displays. The cars certainly looked the part and had attracted the likes of former British touring car champion John Cleland.
Well, you just go out pit lane, tunnel left, and then tunnel left, and then tunnel left, and then tunnel left again. It's quite easy, actually.
GT star Mike Jordan.
The facility's fantastic. When it's all finished, it'll be brilliant, and I think they'll provide some very spectacular racing, incredibly quick. I mean, even first time out this morning, they're lapping 140 mile an hour average, so pretty fast.
And young guns like 22-year-old John DL.
On a racetrack, if you make a mistake, you end up in the gravel pit. On an oval, you make a mistake, you're in the wall.
Oh yes, and of course, me. We'd drawn lots for positions, so there was little pre-race tension, but simply firing up the 565 horsepower Chevy V8 got the adrenaline pumping.
Well, this is it, the rolling warm-up laps before the rolling thunder of the first ASCAR race.
in the history of Britain.
Suddenly hemmed in by either cars or concrete, maximum concentration was needed to run closely in a pack, trusting your fellow competitors to give you room when you needed it. Yet this is how the Americans are used to racing for lap after lap.
And someone's blown up in a big way. You really can't see through the smoke.
Mark Proctor was the latest victim of those engine problems. But for the rest of us, the party went on.
I think we've just got it relieved. It's nice when you got clear air.
But it wasn't clear for long, as the pace car was soon out to slow us all down, give the engines a breather and allow the crowd to taste a bit of pitch road action, ASCAR style. And it's a very different sort of action to the high-tech 20-man Grand Prix operation. Just 3 mechanics are allowed for wheel changing, and they have to use a trolley jack. This is where races really are won or lost.
You can't use quick release wheels. It's 5 wheel nuts per wheel. It's all regulation stuff, and it makes it just such excitement. None of this 10 seconds if you missed it pit stops. The other cars are going out. My crew have had a bit of a miss. This is all getting serious now as we try to wind up for our demonstration finish.
It may have been just a demonstration, but we were still averaging around 130 miles an hour. The identical space frame chassis are clad in fiberglass bodies to resemble either Ford, Chevrolet or Pontiac models. Big and beefy, they're a driver's dream.
Well, that was supposed to be a demonstration and we were being very nice to each other. But, it's still got the heart going. Great stuff, and hopefully that's just a taste of what ASCAR is going to be like. Phenomenal.
John Cleland will go down in history as the winner of the first ever ASCAR event, having drawn #1 from a hat. But the race had still given a great feel for when the ASCARs return for real on the 29th of July.
They were going some at the end there. It's brilliant. Well done. We'll make you an oval racer yet.
Don't think so. Our long-term hopes for ASCAR, first of all, I think, is to attract more drivers. We saw only a third of what this show has in potential. This track holds 44 cars. What we saw here today is just a taster, and if you put 44 cars out there on the racetrack, Tiff, I'm sure you'll agree, it's going to be absolutely fantastic.
Next week on Top Gear, back to basics in a Ginetta. The lavish Lexus SC 430 convertible. And the MGB versus the Mustang. Who will win the Civil War?
Film comedy next on BBC Two, Clueless.